Today is Mother's Day in France. I know my mum has been looking for a napkin holder, so I decided to make her one as a gift. So I started this project by forging two long points on either end of this 15cm long 10mm square bar. Then I scrolled one end and using the peen of my hammer, I pressed the centre of the scroll out. I flipped the steel around and scrolled the other end, but this time the scroll was much smaller and in the other direction. Then I laid the piece on a block of wood and marked where the metal touched the wood. Then using a 6mm drill bit, I could drill 2 holes on either end of the steel. And finally, I'm bending the smallest scroll to one side. Now you will have to make another one of these, and when you do, just make sure that the larger scroll is pushed out in the other direction and the smaller scroll is bent the other way. Moving on, the next step is to mushroom one end of this 12mm round bar. Now you see I put my round bar through my 2 sides, but it actually ended up being easier to do that after, so if you're making this, just mushroom the end normally. To make the weight to hold the napkins down, I forged another point on the end of this 10mm square bar. Then I measured 15cm from the end and cut it off. I forged one more point and scrolled it. So here I'm drilling a small hole through the middle of the round bar before poking the tip of the point through and wrapping the point around it. Moving on to making the base now, I started by charring this old chopping board. Then I gave it a light brush with this old broom. I decided to make a border using some scrap metal, so what I'm doing here is just marking where I need to trim this flat bar. Then using my angle grinder and belt grinder, I cut them to size. After marking 6 cm from either end, I drilled 2 6mm holes in the flat bar. Then I transferred those holes into the wood, but this time I only used a 5mm drill bit. I temporarily screwed on my border so that when I drill the hole for the side pieces, the wood won't split. Now this next step is not necessary, but I decided to reforge my bolt heads. And if you do this, then just be careful because bolts are normally galvanized, so I would recommend stripping the galvanization in some vinegar. And for the wood bolts, I just put them in the forge, cooled them off in some water, and then wire brushed them. And the last step is just to assemble everything. These plastic bolt caps will just stop the bolts from scratching the table.